other citizens, not services for the people that were taxed.
Right. So, like,
And you said yes,
I
and
mean,
that the government should do that,
I
right?
believe in universal programs mainly. So, I mean, I think that, in terms of efficiency and in terms of fairness, universal programs make a lot more sense.
But the question then is the government protecting those taxpayers, like you said they should, against people that want to use force to take their money, when it permits, when it does, it serves as the instrument of one group of people to forcefully take money from another group.
Right. Well, we disagree on who the money belongs to. I think that taxed money legally belongs to the state.
So if the state decides that you don't, none of your money is yours, then it's not yours.
Right. I mean, you would have to look at where the authority of that particular state comes from. That's certainly been an approach that very small communes and other small collectives have taken. I think that typically tradition, and I put a lot of value on tradition, dictates that some proceeds are yours and some proceeds are not, and then it's a matter of moving that bar around based on the needs of society.
So you do think that the government should have the right to take as much money as they want from you? It could be all of your money.
No, I mean, I think that you can imagine a situation where a group of people gets together and they decide they're going to form a body that has 100% taxation and then redistributes in a particular way, and in that case, that seems totally licit. If that's how they want to do it. I think that democratic socialism, you usually have much lower tax rates than 100%, and I think that sounds pretty fair.
So is the government protecting those taxpayers when it forcefully takes their money in order to give it to other people? Is that what you call protecting?
I mean, that's not an action of protecting, but it doesn't mean they don't protect them. That's an action of protecting other people who need those services, but
So
it
they
doesn't
aren't.
abandon those
Okay,
people.
so in that case, they are not protecting those taxpayers. They're actually extracting money from them. That's not protection to take their money and give it to someone else, right?
That it's not protection to be taxed doesn't mean that no protection happens. It just means that particular action of the government is not a protective one. The government has lots of functions, some are protective and some aren't.
Exactly. So it's okay with you if, because previously you had said that the government should protect all peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their monies. But now you have said that it's okay for one group of people to persuade the government to forcefully extract money from another group in order to give them free goods and services. So you want to change your original answer as far as whether the government should protect all peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their money?
No, we still disagree on whether or not it's their money. That's just a fundamental disagreement.
Well, I do think that's a fundamental disagreement. So every time that I made a work contract, I thought that the money that was being paid to me was for my services or goods or services, and that it was my money, and then the government passes a law and says you have to pay a certain amount in taxes, but they're collecting it from me, from my money. But in your view, it was never my money.
Right, so when I make a contract, I know that that in this transaction there's going to be an exchange of money and that some of that belongs to the state. And it belongs to them. You can think of it like a fee because they're the ones who enforce these contracts in the first place. Something has to, if the state didn't exist, there would be no way for me to enforce this contract at all. So
Absolutely, but
zero of it would be mine. So you have to contribute something to the state to manage these types of contracts in the first place. So
yeah, you have to contribute to the state to have an army to protect you against foreign tyrants. You have to contribute to the state to have courts and to be able to sue somebody if they don't pay you, police, etc. But I'm not talking about any of that.
I'm talking about welfare spending.
I'm talking about redistribution of wealth. I ask you, should the government redistribute its citizens' wealth? In other words, serve as the instrument of one group to forcefully extract money from another group.
We disagree on whether or not it's an extraction, right? Those transactions legally, a certain part of that it belongs to the state.
It's not
it's just distribution, right? It's not redistribution. It's not like there was a place where I never had any taxes and then all of a sudden I was taxed. It is always the case that there are taxes. The tax code obtained before I agreed to this contract. So this is just distribution. It's not redistribution.
So it was never yours, that money.
Correct.
And so
Right.
previously I asked you, well, okay, if the government decides that no, none of the money you make is yours, then you're okay with that too.
Right. Well, I said that there are moral reasons that you would look at 100% taxation askance. Right. There are reasons that that should concern you. There have certainly been cases where very small collectives and groups of people have decided to live in that way, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong if that's what they want to do. But it also looks like the moral intuitions of democratic socialist societies don't err in that direction, and people believe that there should be money that people make that they put towards their own projects and ends, and then there's also money that's generated through production society that needs to support the society as a whole.
So if you decide not to do the job, does the government collect the money anyway? Because it's their money already anyway.
Right. Well, it has to be in transaction, right?
Oh,
Right. It
you
has
have to
be
do the
in
work in order for
transaction.
the government to be